Alright, here's why the Babe is awesome. It's super compact, which was the #1 goal from the get-go. It has a decent sized matte box that has the VND system, variable neutral density system, built in. Nice wooden side handle, nice top handle, obviously. Ninja V as an external recorder, so this does up to ProRes RAW onto SSDs. And it has a video transmission system hooked up to the side of the top handle, which I'm rather proud of because it's a very nice way, a very compact way to hook up that system. You can easily turn it on and off, easily switch the batteries, and the one cable connection I couldn't secure via a clamp sits almost dead center on the setup, so is secured by its position. All of this is dismantled super quickly. More on that at the end of the video, because everything works with NATO rails. And on top of that, because all the parts that I'm using are machined precisely, although I'm using a matte box, I can use a zoom lens, in this case the 24-70 f2.8 GM, and still zoom. So this makes it a super versatile and super fast to use setup. Let's assemble that thing. Alright people, the goal is to CINE rig this beautiful Sony A7S III. This is all the stuff that we need. As far as tools are concerned, I'm using a simple screwdriver and an assortment of these Allen wrenches. But basically, all the stuff that you will need for assembly comes with the individual parts. Now, first things first, there's a couple of stages. #1 is the rail mount system. #2 is the top handle system. And #3 is the video transmission rig and applying the cables. So let's start with step 1, assembling the rail mount system. I'm using this part right here. It's a base plate that allows you to mount 2 rails. Next up is the quick release plate system, because I want to be able to quickly take the camera off this CINE rig and put it on a gimbal, for example. Now I landed on this simple QR plate, base plate combo from NiceRig. Loosen it, tighten it, it has a lock, and it comes with 2 screws, 1/8 of an inch and 1/4 inch, both of which we're going to use. The rail mount also comes with a 1/8 of an inch and 1/4 inch screw. Again, we're going to use both to make sure everything stays aligned. QR plate goes on rail mount. 1/8 of an inch screw goes right here, 1/4 inch screw goes right there. Tighten them slightly. Align the pieces so they line up nicely. Once that is done, tighten them. And apply some force so these stay put. There we go. Next up, putting the A7S III inside her cage. So there's 2 screws, #1 on the bottom and #2 a tiny one right here. There's the tool that comes with the cage that you can use. Again, softly tighten and then put in the tiny screw right here. And we're good. Cage is on the camera. QR plate comes off the mount. 1/4 inch screw, 1/4 inch hole, 1/8 of an inch screw, 1/8 of an inch hole. Boop. Again, apply some force. And there we go. QR plate on cage. To help us with further steps, we're gonna apply some NATO rails now. It's those tiny ones. They have a locking mechanism on both ends and come with 2 1/4 inch screws. Make sure it's lined up nicely and tighten the screws. That's #1. #2 goes right on top of the cage. Next up, camera goes on the rail mount. And there we go. This is how it's supposed to look like. Now there's also parts ready to ship that combine the rail mount with the QR plate, but they're always above $100, roughly 120, and these 2 each go for 35 to 40. So I went the cheaper route, which, by the way, still works perfectly. Next up, let's put the lens on. I'm using a bread and butter 24-70 f2.8 G Master lens, because this basically does 95% of everything I need to do when it comes to video work. There we go. Now the next part is optional. It is this lens support right here. In my book and in my experience, it makes the whole setup a bit more stable. Open it, put it all the way down, and then just slide it onto the rails. Put it in position. I wanted to support the lens right there, where there's neither the focus ring nor the zoom ring. Tighten it in the right place, and then just give it a little push, not too much, and then tighten it again. This way it supports the lens a little, but it doesn't put pressure on it, which is exactly what we want. Next up, just so this doesn't continuously tilt to the right, let's apply the QR plate of the tripod. I'm using this Manfrotto plate with my iFootage Gazelle tripod. Again, I'm using 2 tripod screws to make sure things stay aligned. 1/4 inch mount number 1 for screw number 1, 1/4 inch mount number 2 for screw number 2. You may apply adequate force to make you feel secure. None of that is ever going to move again unless you want it to. Step 1 complete. This is the rail mount system. Tripod QR plate, rail mount, quick release plate for the camera, lens support for the lens, cage for the camera, NATO rail on top for the top handle, and NATO rail on the side for the grip. Speaking of the grip, I settled for this small rig wooden handle. It's a really nice fit for my hand and it gives me extra control. This one has an area rosette built into the grip and comes with a NATO clamp so I can easily attach it to a NATO rail. So all you gotta do to put the grip on the cage is this, and then tighten it. And there you go. Grip on the rig. Makes a world of difference in camera control. This is what it looks like. And it is awesome. Such a help. I might get a fancier grip that even has a record button built in right here. So I can just go boop. Next up, the matte box / in my case VND variable neutral density filter system. This is an adapter ring that goes on the lens. Now just tighten this a little. Be gentle. You want to be able to get this thing off the lens if you need to. Now this is the Polar Pro Basecamp matte box / VND system. It uses a circular polarizer right here and another polarizing filter right there. In combination, they make for a variable ND. Now, if I was using a prime lens, I would simply hook this up to the lens. But since I'm using a zoom lens, I chose to also get the rail mount for this matte box. Screws on the bottom like this. Super simple. Since I'm about to apply the matte box right here, here's a quick tip. If you want to rig your camera, you can get parts from across the board of manufacturers. Small rig, nicey rig, Tilta, you name it. But make sure you're shopping within their video rig product lines. Don't mix and match components between video rig and photo rig, because they might not line up. In this case, although I'm using small rig, nicey rig, Polar Pro, and CINE later on, everything lines up, because with all of these manufacturers, I got parts from within their video rig product line. And because I did that, no hassle at all. The matte box just slides onto the lens because all these parts fit. I can just keep these unscrewed and still use my zoom without any hassle. And then maybe just secure one once I know the millimeters that I want to shoot with. So you get a CINE rig with a zoom lens with which you don't have to mess with the matte box when changing millimeters, which is fast, convenient, and awesome. All right, the top handle. So this is what it looks like. Again, uses a NATO clamp system right here to attach it to the top of the camera, but also has a lot of screw mounts as well as array locating pins that we're going to use because we're going to put a NATO rail in the front and one on the side. This time we're using thicker ones. Again, these have the locking mechanisms on both sides, but this time they make use of the array locating pin system. That's number one. Second one goes right there. And that's what this is supposed to look like. Now, the first thing we're going to attach to the grip is the Ninja V monitor, which also needs a cage. In this case, I use one from CINE. Now, this is the best bang for your buck because it's about 60 bucks and all the others are either 100 or above. But this isn't machined 100% perfectly. So this attaches to the Ninja V like that via 2/4-inch screws. One on the top and one on the bottom. Again, lightly tighten it. And now here's the problem. You see that? It can still move, which I don't like, but it's the best bang for my buck option at this point. And it'll do the job, and it looks nice. Another cool thing, always secure your cables. It comes with a dual cable clamp for your HDMI connection. Using the cables, I know exactly how this needs to line up, so I can tighten it in exactly the right position. Perfect, secure connection. Excellent. However, let's apply the cables last. They just helped in configuring this. Next up, I will use this monitor mount that comes with a NATO clamp on the bottom. So this screws in right here, and I actually choose to turn it, having the clamp mechanism on the bottom. Then this slides in like that. Tighten it, and there you go. Monitor attached to the top handle. SSD, Sony NPF 750. And there we go. Next thing we're going to attach to the top handle is the video transmitter. And I'm using this Mars 400S from Hollyland. Now this unit comes with its own mount, which is secured via a 1/4-inch screw right here. So make sure that is securely fastened. I'm going to use another one of those that I just used for the monitor for this one. And now this one slides onto the top handle just like this. Tighten it, hook up another NPF battery, hook up the cable to the monitor. There we go. That step is now done. The top handle part. Obviously, there's one NATO rail left, and this is exactly where this goes. Just slide it on. Make sure it aligns correctly. And then tighten that thing. Tilt it inwards. Now the setup is almost ready. The one thing that still needs to happen is obviously connection between the camera and the monitor. And as far as the cable goes, I could buy 6 to 7 of those for one Atomos cable. This is a simple HDMI 2.1 8K 50 centimeters of like 1.5 foot cable. And it's like 10 bucks and it works perfectly. One obviously goes up here and is secured via the double cable clamp. Then I run it through here once, around here once, and then the last part that I'm going to use is this little HDMI cable clamp from Small Rig to secure the HDMI cable to the cage. Now the one freaking connection I cannot secure is that one of the transmission system right here. But I mounted it this way so I can have the cable connection inside. So there's less chance of something ripping on that connection. Also, I'm using a coiled cable for that very connection because should something rip or should I get stuck somewhere, at least I have some give right here. Let's disassemble the rig so you're getting an idea of how fast that works. Unlock the cable clamp, unplug the cables. Pull the cable from the video transmission unit, NATO clamp, and there goes the transmission unit. Unlock the cable clamp, takes care of that cable. Another NATO rail takes care of the monitor. There goes the top handle. Unplug the remote trigger grip, another NATO rail, there goes the grip, loosen the mat box, there goes the mat box, loosen the lens support, and there goes the rail mount. And now you're left with the camera. Obviously, from this point, you can go into various different configurations really quickly. And that's another perk of this system. There's many configurations to it that you can get in and out of really quickly. How does it handle? Well, it is front heavy. So you're either going to use it like this or like this. If you're using it one-handed because you got a low angle shot, you can rest your thumb right here to control the tilt better. As far as roll is concerned, it's pretty much balanced. Doesn't roll either way because the video transmission system right here acts as a counterbalance to the grip. So it's a bit front heavy, but rolling is basically balanced perfectly. Now, why don't I use a V-mount? Which is obviously an option. You could use longer rails and put a V-mount right there. Number one, it's already heavy enough, so it helps with getting stable handheld shots. And number two, the main reason, I want access to the camera functions, the buttons, the display at all times in the most easy way possible. So the V-mount sitting right here would just get in the way of that. So in my case, the way I shoot, the types of shoots that I do, I can easily sacrifice very long-lasting power for all my components and just switch batteries for the camera or the NPFs right here with the video system and the recorder. Okay, before I wrap this video up, new arrival, the grip with the record button just came in. It's basically a remote trigger that's hooked up to the camera via a cable. I ran it under the lens and it attaches to the camera right there. I am thinking about returning it though if I can't find a cable clamp that secures that connection. That might seem like a minute detail, but hear me out. Ever since the A7 III, which includes the A7 III, you cannot replace individual connectors or individual SD card slots. You have to replace the whole motherboard. And in Germany, the cost of that part and the cost of repair runs me about $450 to $500. So that's really something you don't necessarily want to pay. So although it seems like a small thing, I really hate unsecured cable connections. If the cable breaks, it's a $5 cable. Okay, I can deal. But if something inside the camera breaks, when it comes to connectors or SD card slots, that means the whole motherboard. And that's going to be expensive. But that's it for this video. If you liked it, if you found it helpful, please make sure to leave a thumbs up. It's greatly appreciated. Any kind of comment or feedback is welcome, and I'll try to answer as quickly as possible. All the tech that I've used in this video is linked in the description. And especially for this rig, I also created a kit on kit.co, where you can see all the parts, including descriptions and how they fit together. So if you're interested, definitely go check that out. As always, thank you so much for your time, thank you for watching, and hopefully see you again soon.